Greetings and salutations, AFC North TTC. It's Forever Bengals here. ESPN did something about a week ago. Uh, Take your pick, Palmer versus Flacco, as far as which quarterback you would rather have. Anybody else find this completely stupid? I mean, really, you ask any Ravens fan, and they're going to tell you Flacco is the best quarterback. You ask any Bengals fan, and they're going to say that Palmer's the best quarterback. You ask any Steeler fan who they would pick, and they will say Ben Roethlisberger every time. So every team in the AFC North, excluding the Browns, think that their quarterback is the best quarterback within the AFC North. Um, Palmer, everyone brings up his stats. Everybody brings up the fact that he hasn't had much to throw to. He hasn't had the supporting cast. When he did have the supporting cast, he didn't have an O line. Now he has an O line. He didn't, he missed T.J. Hushmanzada and even Chris Henry. When Chris Henry was on the field, the play was much better all around because even though Chris Henry didn't put up the stats, he still took the coverage away from Chad. He also took the coverage away from Caldwell and Coles, which allowed them to do more. Um, so a lot of when Carson had the weapons, he didn't have the protection. When he had the protection, he didn't have the weapons. So that's what a lot of Bengals fans say about Carson Palmer. They also bring up some stats about how Carson Palmer has thrown 21 touchdowns last year, and Flacco has never thrown 21 touchdowns. Um, some people mention Palmer's experience and that he does have the experience, and he has owned the Ravens. I think he's 6-3 against the Ravens or something like that. Don't Somebody who likes stats can look that up and tell me. Now, the argument about Joe Flacco is that he's younger. He has went to the postseason 2 times, his rookie year and this past year, and he also has more playoff wins, 3. Now, Palmer, you can't really hold the playoff wins against him because the first one, he was knocked out within the second play of the game, so you can't hold that against him. And then this past one, his first real playoff appearance, again, he had no supporting cast. The only supporting cast he had that was worth anything was Cedric Benson. Cedric Benson got 171 yards on the ground. A lot of our defensive players were banged up, so our defense wasn't nearly as good as it was, uh, you know, halfway through the season. Now, I know a lot of people say injuries happen a lot of times, but, you know, Steeler fans, I'm sure you can back me up on this. If Troy Polamalu got hurt and was out for the playoffs of 2008, you would not have won the Super Bowl. I mean, Troy Polamalu is such a key defensive playmaker in your organization that when he goes down, it kind of messes up the whole defense. And Aaron Smith as well. He's one of the most underrated defensive ends in the game. So when those two guys went out in 2009, look at what happened to your team. It kind of imploded a bit, and you lost 5 games in a row. Um, Same thing for Ravens fans. You think you would have that elite defense if Ray Lewis was to get hurt and Ed Reed was to get hurt? No. Same thing happened with the Bengals. We got unlucky with some of our key players getting hurt. Rashad Genty got hurt in I think the first snap of the playoff game. So I mean, he's not as bad as it's not as bad at having him out as it than Carson, but it was pretty bad having him leave. I mean, he's our backup, and he got hurt. So now we've got our third stringer in there, third string strong side linebacker. You know, it just really messed up the whole defensive scheme and the way the Bengals had played all year long. So that was the second playoff appearance. You can't base a quarterback's play off of how many playoff appearances he's gotten and how many rings he wins, because football to me is the ultimate team sport, and it's not just to me; to a lot of people, it's the ultimate team sport. Okay, and you have to count a good quarterback by being able to do something with a nothing. One of the reasons I like Matthew Stafford for the Lions is because the Lions have nothing, and Matthew Stafford has done something with them. Even if it wasn't great, he has done something with them. And it looks he did better than a winless season. Now we'll see if he can improve upon that and keep improving upon that. So whenever I hear people talk about, well, he's got more playoff wins and he's got more Super Bowl wins, you have to kind of throw all that out the window because really, to me, Ravens fans, Joe Flacco's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to hate on the guy, but Ray Rice is your offense. The only touchdown pass that Joe Flacco has thrown against the Cincinnati Bengals last year was a dump off pass to Ray Rice, in which most running backs would have been tackled when he got hit. But Ray Rice, being the short little nugget that he is, was able to stay up, stay on his feet and kept his knee from hitting the ground, and he got the touchdown. So that was the only touchdown he's thrown. Carson Palmer, he's thrown more than one touchdown against you guys. So that you can look at that. Again, I'm a Bengals fan, so of course I'm going to hype up Carson Palmer. But really, I think the whole thing was stupid, and the arguments are basically Flacco's younger, has went to the playoffs, won more playoff games. Palmer's older, he's got the experience, and that his stats has owned the Ravens year in and year out. So 2010 ought to be an interesting season. The Ravens got Anquan Bolden, who's a good wideout, but I think he needs someone like Larry Fitzgerald on the opposite side of him in order to be good. But you also have Dante Stallworth, so we'll see how that pans out for you. But you can't deny that Cincinnati has also had a pretty good all season. We picked up Antonio Bryant, who hasn't had a good quarterback. Finally, he has a good, consistent quarterback. We picked up two good wide receivers. I'm not going to say great yet, but we picked up two good wide receivers, and Jordan Shipley and Desmond Briscoe. We picked up our tight end, who I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of Jermaine Gresham, but we picked him up, and we'll see. We'll see what happens when we have Jermaine Gresham and Chase Kaufman out there, because if Chase Kaufman picks up the blocking game just to become an adequate blocker, and you got both of them out there on the field, that's got to be scary. Now, I know the Ravens picked up two tight ends, Dennis Pita and what's the other guy? You got Ed Dixon. So it's just going to be interesting. Plus, you have Todd Heapes, your veteran. But we also have our veteran, and our veteran is Reggie Kelly. And Rex Ryan used to have to game plan around Reggie Kelly. So that just speaks for how good Reggie Kelly actually is. He may not have the stats, but he is definitely a great blocker and dominant blocker. So if he can teach the young guys how to block like he does, watch out for the Cincinnati Bengals tight ends in the next upcoming years. That's all I gotta say. So I'll leave it at that. I'm sure I'm going to have a bunch of other videos posted on this, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of comments. And I'm sure my sanity is going to be questioned, that how can I think Palmer's even anywhere near as good as Flacco? Bring it. I don't care. Palmer's a great quarterback. I don't care what anybody else says. We actually have really good quarterbacks in the AFC North, except for the Browns. But that's a different story. Who knows? Browns might surprise everybody this year. New regime, new everything. But we'll leave it at that. I'm Forever Bengals, and I'm out.